Okay, preseason game 1 is come and gone. We got our hands on some tape and we're able to make some evaluations about what we're going to get for the 2022 season. Some good, some bad, a lot of questions. But given the makeup that was given for the units, this is really a push in a lot of ways to week 2 as far as being able to make a solid evaluation across the board. And in the preseason games, you can say offense or units or touchdowns or yards. All that stuff is not what is the value. The value I talked about last time is watching individual players with technique, effort, ability against other players in a competitive environment, and then distilling down your evaluations on players, not on units or things like that. So another aspect is I saw somebody in a comment say that, the preseason games mean less than practice. Well, for coaches and the staff, maybe you could say that, but you have to understand. I walked onto a college football team. I was having the time of my life practicing. My coach, even the head coach, even singled me out. He had a scout there, and he's like, "Hey, Curtis, you having a good time?" I'm like, "Having a great time. This is awesome." It was so much fun. And then we had the scrimmage at the end of spring ball, which was going to determine a lot of stuff. But to get to that scrimmage, you had to have your big practice that was kind of like a mini scrimmage. And let me tell you, when that pressure came on, when there were people coming out and watching you on the sidelines, and there were scouts on the sidelines, and you knew it, you felt that gut tighten, and you felt your play change. And that's nothing compared to these players walking out of that tunnel to all those people in the stadium, the cameras, knowing you're going to be on TV, and realizing you're performing for the nation. It changes everything. And so the ability to perform under the bright lights creates a different environment than practices or scrimmages and as such, because it brings out a certain aspect. So I'm going to do the chapter thing again. I'm going to have staff, defense, and then offense, and you can go to your different parts. I'm going to point out what I saw, my evaluations, but none of these evaluations I'm stamping in, with the sign, seal, and delivery. Although a couple I might, because there's long-range trends to it. But I still won't seal it. But certain things are looking pretty obvious. Before I do that, though, I want to thank everybody for stopping by. Really, really appreciate the likes, the subscribes, the comments, the views, all that stuff, because without you, this channel isn't happening. But I also have to give a shout out to my sponsor, Ace Per Head, because without them, it ain't happening either. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. With all this tension of being in front of a national audience, of understanding you've built the body of work up through practice, but you've got to deliver it here in preseason. And preseason production can really go a long way to bringing you up or dropping you down. The staff, they get a really good review, in my opinion. It was smooth. There was no penalties. I felt like everything was coming in and out. And I'm not talking about calls. I'm not talking, because you don't know. I mean, we're not there yet. But the transition of personnel in and out, I didn't see end. There was nothing, no talk of it, did nothing, no flags. That is a great sign. McDaniel was able to call plays and manage the whole deal. It's still so early, and this is such a vague image. But if I have no complaints, that's a thumbs up. Now, to me, again, it goes back to no pens. You saw the Belichick and his staff had some changes, and they had a lot of issues. And so I like this. This does not mean we're going to be the most disciplined team in the league or whatever. But at this juncture, this was as good a sign as you could get. And so that is the foundation of everything. And so that made Curtis smile. Defense. Wide range of stuff going on here. Raekwon Davis dropped weight. He was phenomenal, in my opinion, in 2020. Injury and up and down 2021 after that injury. Came in, dropped the weight, and I saw him handle one-on-one blocks. He got a double on him once and was pulled out of the way. Didn't like that, but he was able to hold a couple of blocks, get off them, make some tackles, and overall this weight drop doesn't appear to be detrimental, and it's hard to really gauge at this stage, but I do think it's trending in a good direction, and he is the heart of this defense and ultra critical, and so I'm happy about that. Jalen Phillips spent a high pick on him, had a 8.5 sacks last year, and my hope was for him to improve his run defense. And honestly, I saw him get in there, and there was a couple of plays that looked a little bit more physical and sharper than last year. But there was only a few moments where I could really get a chance to evaluate his run defense. There was one where he got sealed, but it was by three guys on the edge. He could have done something different, but I understand that. But there was other plays where he got in there. There was a pulling guard who really was just kind of tentative, but he got in there and physical and kind of jammed up the situation, and the running back was tackled, and I like that. So that is also trending in the right direction, and I'm happy for that. Sam Egwuvain, I think he had a fumble recovery, but a lot of missed tackles. And I'm wondering if this is going to be his last season here. He plays special teams, I believe, and he's got veteran leadership, but I don't know. I don't like what I saw. And it kind of is indicative of what we've seen in the past. So I'm not sure if he's trending in the right direction. Duke Riley, I like what I saw. He has a lot of pop to his game. He's pretty explosive, and I like what he does. This guy's going to stick. And I'm very happy with what I saw. I'm not saying he's a leader or anything, but he's a piece of a very important puzzle, and I think he's doing what he needs to do. Now, what I thought was odd was no Tyndale in the first two quarters. I'm not going to say it's this or it's that, but honestly, if he was nailing things, I would expect him to be in, although he might be, and guys like Egwuvain are getting their chance early to either hold their position or we're going to move them out. So I don't know what to make of it right now. We'll know more in next week. Next week, this staff's going to start telling you who they view as the starters, who they view as guys that are really showing themselves. And if we don't see Tyndale in the first two quarters next week, then we know that he might be a slow developer. It might take, into the season or whatever. But I wouldn't expect him to be a starter opening the season. But it's not the end of the world either way. I expect him to be on special teams. I didn't check special teams, so I got to go back. I only watched the game 3-4 times. So I'll get back and watch a couple more times. Now, Keen Crossan was at corner. I was expecting to see, I was expecting to see something come out of that cornerback position. Trill Williams, but I didn't see him really there. Noah, and we'll get to Noah next. Crossan showed me a little something. Now, there was a deep play where he covered, I forgot who it was, but he's one of the fastest guys on the Tampa Bay team. And if the ball had been put in the right spot, it probably would have been a big play. But he was close enough to make it. It had to be a good pass. And so there's a little hope for him to come in. And when I get to Noah, it's like, forget about it. I'll get to Noah now. Noah is not looking good. There was a play on a deep play where he's playing over leverage, and he played like a mile over leverage, and the pass was caught. He fell down once. He got beat on a crosser. It's not looking good for Noah. He just doesn't seem to have that pop. He doesn't have that. He looks like he's fast, but he doesn't have explosion, and his demeanor after plays is kind of like, and I don't like that. I don't see him trending in the right direction. And honestly, I'm not sure, if you're honest, if it continues like this, maybe it changes, that he can really earn a roster spot because he's bad. He's terrible. I mean, from what I saw, it was ugly, 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 and ugly. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. Benito Jones. He had some nice plays shooting those gaps. Benito Jones is a guy that could be a little surprise riser, and it'd be nice to see him come inside and be that one-gap shooter. I liked what I saw, but again, he's going against guys that, they're not starters and everything. But still, against his competition, he showed. He popped, and that's all you can ask. And then Jenkins is a guy that I like. But I saw him, he's going to play for us. He's going to stick. He's going to be important. He showed a couple times. But oddly, they had him at like a 3-tech, or 2-tech sometimes, 2-tech, 3-tech, and he wasn't as that interior 0 and 1 plugger, which was interesting. I thought it was interesting. But he showed, and so it was good to see some little pop inside on that defensive line, because we need as much help on this D-line and rotation and depth as possible. Guys like Sealer and Wilkins and Agba, all these guys need rotation. It's critical. It's so important at the defensive line position. So it was good to see those guys pop. Now on offense, Skyler did well. There's a lot of context to why he did well and a lot of mitigating factors to kind of push the cards into his table. But all you can ask from a guy, if you're a first stringer and you're going against the third stringer, is you do your job, do it well, and don't screw up. Skyler made some throws. He looked calm, and he did everything that could be asked of him. I didn't really watch him past the third and the fourth quarter because at that point, you're dealing with the low-end stuff. And I just really wanted to see the first 2 quarters. I didn't even know he played. I kind of just went back over the first 2 quarters over and over and again. But I liked what I saw. I was a little bit surprised at what I saw. The poise is what I liked the most. Still a long way to go to keeping him on the roster. But he did everything to change my mind to say, well, you know what? I want to see more, and there's a possibility. And that's a big, big, big news. If you can get this guy to contribute and even be a quality backup, that's a big win for where he was taken. If you get more, huge win. Now, Cedric Wilson, he was shown a lot. He got a lot of opportunities, and he really did well. And there was one play that deep out where he got the first down, and it was Cockrell, who's actually one of the top corners in the league, that he beat and made happen. And Skyler made that throw. It was a little behind. If it was out in front of him, he could actually turn up and maybe score the touchdown. But it was a nice connection. It was good poise by Skyler. Wilson showed himself. Old timers over here. I watched so much football today. Wilson really dominated that situation and kind of froze Cockrell and was wide open. And that was a really good sign because he's your third receiver. And it really shows the potency of Waddle, Hill, Wilson. And then you add Gesicki and then Bowden, possibly staying, and whoever else. Easy. I got to go back and watch Easy. I didn't see Easy. I might have missed him. I got to go back, like I said, watch as I focus on certain guys and whatever. So that's good news. Smythe. I didn't see Hunter Long in there, which, okay, he's not in there. That means Smythe's our guy, and he missed a couple of blocks. And it bothers me that he's our pretty much starting tight end. I mean, Gesicki is, but he isn't. And we need to see better blocking. There was like a screenplay or run outside. I can't remember, but he's okay. But we need better than that with this system we have because, if you want to talk about anything, the run game really wasn't there. And again, no Hunter Long. What does that mean? I don't know. We'll see. If we don't see him early on next week, what does that say for a third-round pick going into his second year? We need quality tight end play. That means a guy who can block pretty well, who can catch pretty well. Smythe's sort of there, but sort of not. Now, the O-line. This is important to me. It's important. Should be important to you if you want your team to win. We didn't have Armstrong. We didn't have Hunt. We didn't have Connor. So as a unit, you cannot say we're this or we're that. But like I said, individual play is very clear. And it's very clear by what we saw. I'm going to do tape on all this because that's what I like to do with my offensive line. I am highly concerned about the depth of this offensive line. Okay, and I'm a little concerned because we had 2 starters in there, and what I saw from the starters wasn't good news either. And when you put it all together, I'm not going to say the sky is falling because we have more time, but we didn't see what we wanted to see to the degree we want to see it. And I'll break it down explicitly. Dieter is not good. He was on the ground. He missed blocks. He missed second-level blocks. Not the guy there. He's not playing guard, and he's not a quality center. Sorry, it's just the truth. And the tape is the tape. We see what we saw. This tape is indicative of what we saw in prior tape. Now, he's not terrible. He's passable, but there's no way I want to go into a big game with him, my starting center. Now, Eichenberg, at times I saw his pass blocking was pretty decent, but his lack of ability to deal with, I wouldn't even call it power, because there was a run where Grant Strand, 6'1", 225, lined up over him and blew him out the door on a run, folded him up like a cheap lawn chair. And that's concerning, considering he's about 310, 315, and he's a guard in the NFL going against guys 6'1", 225, lining up over him. It's not like he was shooting with full force and had all that momentum. And that concerns me. That really, I'm not saying I'm going to he sucks and he's never, but that one play was like, what? Didn't like that. Coleman at left tackle, not good. I mean, is he going to replace Teron Armstead if he needs to? No. Where's Little? Little's not around. What is he? He's like, where's Waldo? Where's Little? So Coleman is not a quality depth player from what I saw. But, things can change. Robert Jones, who I like, but I'm still seeing problems with him being a starter. His awareness, there's a couple of plays where he just fixates on one direction. A guy comes and levels him. He gets lost when there's stunts and movement. I mean, he was okay when he had his guy, he knew his guy, and he was driving. But there was moments where it was just like he was frozen or didn't perceive. And I don't know if that's what I want if we have to kick Hunt out to tackle because Jackson ain't there. Or Hunt goes down and we got to bring him in. I mean, it's not terrible, but I'll show you through film. There was like moments where whoa. This is not what I want for my starting quarterback in a big game. And that was a little bothersome because I expect him to take another step. And it's, his growth is not done, but then is Jackson. I did my little podcast last time and I heard all this talk about him doing really well. And in truth, there was some development I saw, but way too often he was driven back and his body was doing this. And when your body's doing this, it means you've lost power. And that happened a couple of times. And he wasn't able to do what you'd hope 18th overall in his third year with reviews that he got at this juncture against, I didn't see who he was going against because the other side of the field, we don't have the 22 film. So I don't know if he's going against a starter or a backup or whatever. But I didn't see anything thrilling to say, whoa, night and day from 21 to 22. I did see a little bit of improvement, and that does offer hope. It does offer hope, but I would not write any checks about his growth or Eichenberg's. I think Eichenberg might be passable because of his pass block, concerned about his run block, but these two guys are going to be starters. And it leaves me a little bit concerned, and the depth definitely leaves me concerned. Still plenty of time. We've got to see when you've got Hunt and Connor and Armstead in, and your play calling to protect and all this other stuff. But nothing about this offensive line had me going, woo! Give it some more time, but it's a little concerning. The cornerback situation, the depth of cornerback, and the offensive line depth, and maybe two of the starters, is not where I would want us to be. But again, it's early, and this is not to say, oh, we got this yards, we run. No, I'm talking about individual play on all the stuff. And I'm going to try to get some tape of all these things to show you what I saw clearly. So it's not me just being a hater or whatever, whatever. Anyway, I wouldn't be totally ecstatic or totally down. Good news is the staff looks coherent. And that's the foundation. There were some pieces throughout this puzzle that were good. There's a lot of starters that weren't added to the mix, and that changes a lot. So next week is going to help us see the image a little clearer, both on the individual level and then the macro level, because you're going to see, all right, we're going to have our starting offensive line, and how do they perform? We're going to have our starting secondary, quote unquote, and and you're going to be able to make a better judgment next week. This week, it's still a little vague, but on the individual level, not really. Anyway, this is Curtis. I'll have some tape for you. Still be very excited. Just got to see how this thing plays out. It's a process. Anyway, thanks for staying to the end. Catch you next time. Be well and go Fins. Come on. Growth. Week 1 to week 2. Come on. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.